Hey ManCave, this is Bob from the Bob's N Scale ManCave, and this is part 7 of how to install the turntable and roundhouse. In the last episode we talked about wiring and how to wire up your switch and your turntable and everything else and all the tracks in the roundhouse for operation. And it looked kind of messy, all the wires hanging down and everything else. So we're going to update you on what it looks like now and all the little extra features that I put into the whole system. Plus we're going to go into putting your lighting into the roundhouse before you put it together. It's probably a good idea to figure that all out before you do that. So we're going to start covering that and show you how I'm going to do it. So let's go take a look. It's right over there. Okay, I started with a power strip. This power strip is not going to remain here on the floor. It'll be mounted up on the underside of the table, and I can plug stuff into it and get to the power switch fairly easily. Now, this one happens to have 3 extra areas for some wall warts, but I only really need just the one right now. But I got room for expansion, and I've plugged in my DCC and my DC controller for my accessories and my power for my switch machine servos from Town Valley. And here are those, the NCE Power Pro 5 amp system, and my DC controller and all the accessories, and there's my servo controller right there. I took the cables and extended them off from the controller up to the push button switches so I can access them until I'm ready to build my control panel. I have DCC power coming in on the left side of this terminal block, and on the right hand side is the accessory power for my turntable, so I can turn it. And I added in an AR1 from Digitrax for my reversing of the turntable bridge. I wired all the tracks polarity the same way, and then all that needs to be reversed is the bridge. And as you can tell, it looks a lot more cleaner. All the wires are bundled up together, and I've used some of these stress relief brackets for holding the cables in, and did the same thing up here on the wires coming from the tracks, and it all pretty much looks nice and clean now. Just have to clean up some more of the lighting, but I've got a lot of lighting left to wire in, and that's what we're going to do next. So I wired in this switch button and extended it off some length from the wires, and this is for the Broadway Limited water tower. Now it's all wired in and working. Just letting you know, this is my DCC inventory at the moment. Put them all out onto the tracks in the roundhouse to see how everything flows and runs in. And I do have to replace one track, bay number 4. The rail didn't glue down very well, and it's actually kind of twisted, so it doesn't lay straight, and it stays out of gauge, so trains fall into the pit when it comes in there. So I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to have to replace that. But the next step I'm going to have to do is I have to put on the side walls, which will go right in here. Actually, this one will go on the other end. But I added in lights And then on the beams that go inside, there'll be a light that mounted here and a light on the other side over there. So I'll have one on either side, and it should light up the interior pretty well. I won't wire them all together on the same circuit. I'm going to get some extra switches so I can turn off individual areas of the roundhouse. So it's not all lit up, but just certain areas could be lit up. Okay, I'm going to be putting on these wall mount lights, gooseneck style, onto these beams. They're going to go inside the roundhouse. I'm going to have 17 of those. And what I did is I took some foam and I cut a little square hole out in here because I'll get to that later. I'm going to need that. I'm going to put one light here on that side, flip it over, and put another light on that side, so one on each side. The hole will be there so that the light can sit down in there so it doesn't get squished and break off and have to start all over again. You got to take a couple staples out of the package and open it up. And once you get inside there, you're going to have a couple things. You're going to have this red and black wire plug, which will hook into your just plug system, and that's where you can plug in these really thin wires from the goosenecks into that adapter. And you can plug many of these lights into the same adapter per section. Now I took some testers, model glue or model paint, silver metallic, and mix it up, stir it up, get it, it kind of settles pretty easy, so you want to make sure it's nice and mixed. Then stretch out your wires. These really thin wires, so be careful not to pull too hard on them. Stretch it nice and tight, well, not too tight, and then I just paint the wires. It takes a little bit of time. The wire coating on these does not like to accept paint very well, and so it likes to bubble up a little bit, and so it may take a couple of coats to do that. I'm doing this so that it will resemble some metal conduit running down the beam to the floor. So you'll really have to paint the length that it will travel down to the floor from where you mount it. So it may take a couple swipes on that to get it just right, and then paint the other one as well. Now I glued this one down already and it's drying. I used the Tester's liquid cement. It works better than super glue. The CA glue will tend to break away easier later on and you have to repair it, but the model glue should hold it for a longer period of time. So wait about 10 minutes after you glue it until it dries before you flip it all over. So I put something down on the wire to hold it in place, and it takes about 10 minutes. I even took this little lamp that had a real light bulb in it to warm it up and help it dry. Now it's still a little loose, so I'm going to give it some more time before I do it. But what I did here, because it's a little loose, I may not have got enough glue on there, so I'm going to add a little bit of glue on the side to help it adhere better to the beam. Now after it's allowed about 10 minutes to dry, it should stick on there pretty well, and I just flip it over. And I go and put the next light on. Just put some glue on the points that are going to touch the beam, a little black area there, and then part of the hook on the gooseneck. It takes a little wiggling around and getting it go in the right spot. You don't want it up too high because you're going to have other pieces touching in that area for the roof and so forth. So you want to keep it down a little bit away from where the roofing material will be. And then I took something that'll be weighted on there, and this happened to be just a pair of tweezers that I had. And so I hold it in place, get it in the right spot so it looks right, add some more glue, and let it dry. Well, that's part 7 of how to install a roundhouse and turntable. In this episode I kind of showed you the cleaning up of my wiring that I did, and also I went into putting on some lights on the beams of the roundhouse. And now I have 17 of these beams to do, and I've only done 4 of them so far, so I've got a lot of work to catch up and get ready for the next episode, number 8, when I start putting all those pieces together and start gluing things down. But I'm probably going to also get some figurines and other things that I want to put inside the roundhouse to kind of make it look like there's actually something going on inside there besides just nothing. So put a little realism into the roundhouse before I start putting the assembly in sure will help in the long run, because otherwise I can't really see what I'm doing or where I want to put it when I have all the walls up and everything else. So it could be a little more difficult if I do it that way. So got to plan ahead, you know. On another note, it is Christmas. It is actually Christmas Day today, and I did not get everything I wanted for Christmas, but I mean that happens. And I've spent a lot of stuff on myself this year, so I'm okay with that. So I hope all of you got what you wanted for Christmas, and in the new year, plan ahead for new products to come out. I'll do some reviews and so forth. But until then, happy model railroading and stay off the tracks. Bye. So if you like what you saw here today, go ahead and click subscribe down here below, or follow my Facebook, Google+, Twitter, and my Instagram, links down here below in the comments. Also, click on one of my other links for videos as well. As always, ManCavians, happy model railroading, stay off the tracks. Bye.